Welcome to the Joy Quota podcast. I'm Dylan Fole.
And I'm Gavin Malcolm.
Our guest tonight is AJ Anaya, pro BMX rider transitioning into Cirque du Soleil performer.
AKA our friend is a clown. And he's the best. You guys are going to love him. Enjoy.
Our friendship between us, like meeting you when you were fucking 13 years old, 12, I think.
Yeah.
Were you 12? You had
12
to be.
or 13,
That's
yeah.
so crazy for me to like remember that stuff because I've met so many people in my life and like I just suck remembering a lot of stuff. But like I remember meeting you and like you introducing him to us and then just being like, he seems really cool, but like he seems kind of like weird too,
Yeah.
you know? But
Yeah,
I was like,
I
but he's a
remember-
cool dude. And like I just remember like meeting you and being so stoked on you and how professional you were filming. And I've said this to you throughout the course of our life, but like, man, it was super cool to watch you have so much passion towards filming and like editing and like what you're doing, you know? And I really respected that. And I was like, man, this dude's super cool. And like, I've always needed a filmer, you know, like what we do. So I was like, yo, you kind of want to work together? And you were so pumped. You're like, let's do it. And I was like, dude, this is so sick. So like, it's so crazy, like how our lives and how we've evolved and how we're still in connection. What's it been, like 15 years or more or something?
Yeah,
Damn.
pretty close.
I don't think it's been, well, I guess it's been at least 10.
Yeah, for
we've
sure
known each
10.
other.
For sure 10.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's cool.
Well, no, yeah, because if I met you when I was 12 or 13, we're like right at like 14
yeah.
years, something like
Yeah,
that.
and then fast forward, we met him when you were like already doing
Yeah.
shows for us, like full on like riding and everything with us. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so just so everyone gets to know you, like today's guest, we are talking to the coolest guy I know, AJ Anaya.
Right on.
Like we've been talking about, we've actually known each other for a long, long time. But for the people who don't know you, AJ, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. About myself, that's always kind of awkward. Like, I grew up here in Denver in the north side. Grew up in the hood. It was a bit rough.
Before it was Rhino or whatever.
No,
Yeah,
low high.
before-
Before it was low high.
Yeah, what is it? Yeah, dude.
Some
They
hipster
change
name.
it all the time. I think it was the Highlands for
Yeah.
a little bit.
Well, there's still the Highlands, but then low high is the lower Highlands.
Well, I don't even
But
know where that's at. Like, if you, like,
It's
there's so
ridiculous.
many changes. No, regardless. All right, so grew up in the north side. It was a bit rough growing up, but I made it out and rode BMX bikes. It kind of just worked for me, and I knew that I can take it somewhere if I put a lot of work into it, which I was willing to do that. And yeah, just kind of ridden bikes most of my life and met a lot of really cool people along the way, including you two. And we've always kept in touch. And I think, Dylan, you're flat out the first person I always text when I'm coming back into town, and you're always down to meet up. And I love it, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you hit me up because we always have a blast riding bikes. Still,
I know,
mean,
dude.
10 years later, whatever it is, we still have a blast riding.
Yeah,
bikes.
no, it's so good. We've done so many wild adventures together and like done so many fun things. It's so crazy.
It's so wild how like this silly little kid's bike has brought so many of the people in our circles so far in life. Like all these crazy experiences, all these awesome friendships, all these skills that we've all learned can all be traced back to at some point we all just picked up a BMX bike and wanted to ride.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. Like, it's cool. I think the sport has changed so much. It's a bit dull for like my taste, because I remember when we were younger, if you rode a BMX bike and you're riding to some skate park you'd never been to before, and you see some dudes or a dude at the other side of the park with the bike, you automatically were friends. Like,
Yeah.
you were like, oh, you ride a bike, I ride a bike, cool, let's ride together. And now it's like so different, you know? So like, oh, you ride pegs or you ride street and you ride ramps, oh, you have a gyro or whatever. But it's so crazy how the sport has kind of changed and evolved, you know? I still have the absolute most funnest time. I'm still the same person and super stoked on whoever's riding bikes.
Yeah, well, I think it comes from when we were all growing up riding, there wasn't a lot of people riding. We were in like a low spot for the sport. Like we were kind of catching like the beginning part of like this second wave of
For
the
sure.
sport. And so you needed each other, right? Like, oh, dude, there's someone on a bike in my town. It doesn't matter if I hate this guy. We have to be best friends so I have someone to ride with.
I know, that's
and
so true.
now, like, it's become something that's so popular and, like, there's so much access because of, like, social media and stuff that you can feel like a part of a community without actually ever having to like leave your local skate park and all this. So in a lot of ways it's better, and in a lot of ways you kind of miss out on like that local homies feeling.
Well, I think society itself has changed.
Oh,
as
for
well,
sure,
so.
for sure. Like the acceptance of society in general is like so different compared to us growing up and like physically having to go to a place to see all your friends. Now you just look at everything online and you don't have to leave your couch.
Exactly.
Play pumped BMX instead.
Yeah,
dude,
exactly.
For real. I hear, like, I legitimately hear about my friends communicating with each other, like on like online games and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, so and so was online last night playing Fortnite, and I'm like, they have online for that? Like, I don't even know because I don't do any of this stuff, you know. But it's so crazy, like how people keep in touch in so many different ways nowadays.
Yeah, I miss the Fortnite train as well. I still don't even know what it is.
Dude, yeah.
It's very famous. But
Yeah, you have to be a teenager, but if
No,
you are,
not necessarily.
you're
There's some
into
pretty
it.
serious dudes that be getting in that Fortnite game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So I guess since we're all talking about BMX, like, what are some fun stories relating to like Joy Quota? And like, I think we've all had some really good times together on our bikes. Like, we've got on some pretty wild adventures. What are some of your favorites?
man, there's been so many throughout the years. Like, luckily, I've been blessed to be able to ride bikes and have stories. Like, it goes from contests to like hanging out with you guys to, I think one of my favorites between me and Dylan is got to be like when I took you to Woodward Camp.
yeah.
What year was that, Dylan? You have to know somehow.
Oh man, what year? What?
Was that
Three of the
I
worst
guess-
memories in one row.
Right? Yeah.
was that like
Probably 2009. Do you think 2000
I would say
or
9.
2010?
I would say like 10. I would guess like 10. We could probably look back for some of you guys.
Was it pre-Australia?
Dylan, yeah, it was
Yeah.
way
Okay.
pre-Australia. Dylan got to film a pretty cool edit with Webby, and that was actually quite viral. So if
Yeah,
you
that's
look
still
back
my
to the
number
date,
one
Yeah.
viewed video.
dude, I was so
of my
sick.
entire career of hundreds and
I
if
hooked
not a
that
thousand
one up.
videos.
I linked that up.
Yeah.
I was like, it was so fun and awkward because like I knew Webby quite well then, and I knew Dylan, and I knew how shy Dylan was. So I was like, there's no way Dylan's gonna talk to this dude. It's so crazy. Like going forward, 10 years later, you got a podcast and like you talk, and that's the one thing you absolutely hated.
I know.
He hated, and I helped him
grown.
like break through his non-talking phases, and like. So this was one of the biggest ones I will always remember. Like, so we're at Woodward and I'm instructing and stuff like that. And Dylan's with me. I think you were an OSI or
Yeah,
something. Like
so I was like the lifeguard. I had to keep kids safe, basically.
pretty much. Yeah. He had to like, for you guys don't know about like Woodward and stuff like that. It's an awesome extreme sports camp and stuff in Tehachapi. And Dylan came with me. I invited him. And then he was also had his camera and he was quite well filmer and like did an awesome job. So I remember I was instructing and then I got sick out of nowhere. I didn't feel sick, but my voice was completely gone. Like it was the craziest thing that never happened to me. So I legitimately could not talk to save my life. Like, and it was for like 3 or 4 days. Yeah. And I'm supposed to talk and teach these kids like
miming how to do a dip 360.
hours of the day. So then like I remember telling like Dylan helping me, and Dylan understood everything, and literally I would just be like, I can whisper, but I couldn't like talk very loud. So then I would have to tell Dylan what to say to the kids, and then Dylan had to talk. And of course the kids are asking him questions like, well then how do you do a 360? So then Dylan had to he was forced to talk. And after that 1 week of that, it changed his life. It literally, I saw a change in your life from being the really shy guy that you were just always shy and polite to like being a little more open. And it was like one of the coolest things. And I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. And it was so cool. Dude, that was one of my favorite things.
And I can't even imagine like introducing Webb to Dylan, right? Like, cause it had to have been at least 07 or 08 cause we went back after the two knew each other and we went and had like a crazy backyard session on some dude's ramp, and Webby and Dylan already knew each other. So like I can't even imagine that first meeting of like Dylan not being able to talk, being like probably a little starstruck, and then
Oh,
Webb.
for sure.
Right, 'cause
Mark
he
Webb's
was
just like
still-
so over
He
the
was
top,
huge.
so over the
he-
top,
so
and
huge then,
so
yeah.
like boisterous.
Oh, dude.
I can't even imagine what that
Oh, it
conversation
was awesome.
like.
It was so funny. Webby was just like, so you're good at filming? AJ tells me, yeah. You're not gonna make me look like shit, yeah. And like just like borderline like for American people like grilling him like he wants to fight,
Yeah.
but he's just like being Webby, and Dylan's just like, yeah. I
promise I won't
I'll
blow
do
it.
my. He goes, Dylan's just like, I'll do my best. And he's like, all right, let's see what you got. Film this right now. And Dylan's like really, like I said, he's very passionate and takes like his angles and like camera settings like really good. That's why all his stuff looks so amazing.
Yeah.
And Webby's just like used to, hey, point the camera, I'm about to do this and that. And then, so at first it took a second for Webby to understand like, hey, like there's a little more than just pointing a camera. But it ended up coming out super awesome.
Yeah.
Like people loved it. Webby loved it. I remember he was so stoked on that. He would still talk to me about that edit like many years later. So that was pretty cool. Like when I'd be at Feast, he would bring it up.
Nice.
So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, my only regret is back in those days using copyrighted music, so I never made any YouTube money off of
Right, dude. How
Like
that kind of stuff sucks. Like not knowing what the future's gonna bring.
Totally.
You know, and it's interesting. It's interesting going about that because I remember we also filmed our how-tos, and then like YouTube kind of undercut us trying to say that we did some unclicking
Oh,
thing.
that's
and they
right.
didn't-
Yeah, the How
Dude,
Tuesdays.
That would have been such an amazing
Yeah.
thing. And then they were just like, no, like, what did they say that we did some? They tried to say like it was just didn't work
That
out.
you were
Well,
watching your
so-
own videos or something.
No, what happened was we had our crew, our Parker crew, we called it Gimmick BMX, and we made parts, and we had gimmickbmx.blogspot.com is where I posted photos and videos when I very
Yeah.
first started. And we had you could put Google ads on your website and get money from that. And so one of our friends got super excited that we could possibly make money from ads. He went and just kept on clicking them a million times. This was like 2006. And then he just clicked it too many times and they knew it was all him. And so they flagged the account. And then when 2011 or whatever, when we started doing how-tos, I
Right.
used the same, even just my name has been like red flag
Oh, from them.
from that. And so
Okay,
it
that makes
wouldn't let
sense.
it. So if we could have put it in, if I would have known, we could have just put it in your name and
It's something else.
Because
That's
like-
nuts.
we've missed out on a lot of
Yeah.
YouTube revenue, unfortunately.
Oh, dude, it's
Between
brutal.
that and all the other
So
edits.
many stuff.
Now YouTube's become this massive thing, and Scotty has millions of subscribers, and a lot of these guys do. If we could have started it and kept it going from when I had my first YouTube channel in 2006, we'd be set. Now we're over here still trying to make it happen from
Hey, we're
scratch.
still set, dude. We're killing the game right now.
Right,
I'm-
right.
Well, I mean,
taking a
we're doing,
stand. I'm
we're doing
fired up.
good, but we would have had
Yeah.
just a better
No, I see. I look at it like, you're hustlers. All of us that are still in the BMX community, Trey, Oscar, you two, Yellow, everyone, we're hustlers. Like you have to be, but not in a negative way by any means, but you just got to keep making moves. Like you do to survive nowadays. That's just the kind of world that we live in. Like for me, it's just, living in Colorado and then being like, hey, if I want to compete and do that, I have to move to California. So then I was like, okay, well then that's what I'm gonna do, and that's what I did, and stuff was good. Obviously we could always make a situation better, but I kind of gave it all I had, and then with that, I remember you being in Australia and then being like, man, this isn't really buffing out. We were coming out to do this and do that. And I remember talking to you on the phone and you were like pretty worn down. And you were like, I'm ready to hang it up and go back to Colorado. I was like, dude, no way. You need to come to California.
Yeah.
This is where you need to be. Every dude at the skate park's a professional rider that needs a filmer, and the skills that you got will be so good out here. And I remember you coming out and staying with me for a little while, and then just kind of making moves and doing some awesome stuff.
I didn't come out and stay with you. I sent it. Remember? You came back for Christmas, and then we left the day after Christmas to go to winter camp at Woodward.
That's right.
And then moved into Ben Snowden's house as soon as we got back. Like, I was just, after Australia, I was fully committed. Like, I knew what it was like to work on a farm, picking fruit, and trying to survive, and it sucked. So, like, I'm going to just devote myself to filming and make it happen. I mean...
Dude, it was awesome.
Yeah, Ben Snowden charging we paid like $350 each for that room or whatever. So there were 10 or 12 people living in the house.
Yeah, it was crazy, but in the same house. Yeah, it was a crazy house, but in the same sense, like a lot of people try to kind of down talk him in a sense, and like kind of like stuff happens. Like you got freaking 12 people living in a 3 or 4 bedroom house. Like it's gonna get a bit wild. We legitimately had like 2 dudes out in their vans, 2 dudes in the garage, I look at it kind of like, yeah, there was some ups and downs from that house, but none of us would have moved out to California if he didn't have a room available.
For sure.
Because moving out there to just pay for a normal apartment or something wasn't going to necessarily happen for most of us.
Well, at least, and keep riding full time.
Right, for sure.
You can get a job and afford $1,000 apartment or whatever.
Right.
It was like the BMX version of those like tech incubator houses that they have out in like Silicon Valley, where like like a dude just goes and finds like promising startups and just like puts them all in a house and lets them live there for free, but he gets like a cut. Like that was basically what Ben did. Was like, hey guys, like I'm just gonna give you all like a shot.
Yeah.
Like as wild as it is, like
it's cool. Like the ramps were super fun to ride. I learned so many tricks and dialed in so much stuff because of that. And like the people that would always want to come over and ride was always just like a good vibe. People would get crazy. There'd be fights, and there'd be like dudes eating Big Daddy's sandwich. So then he's trying to like just tear someone's head off, and then he realizes he's the one that ate his own
protein.
And then we do like a full on like CSI criminal investigation to who ate Pat's sandwich, and then we end up breaking it down to Pat ate his own sandwich, and then he's super pissed off because he ate his own sandwich and he made a big deal and he's apologizing. Dude, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was so crazy. We lived it. We lived that life. We probably never do it again ever, but it was cool. It was good.
It was cool, yeah.
I feel like that's something that like people who don't spend at least some time in action sports just miss out on.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Like I look at all the stuff we did with Yellow Designs and like all the side BMX trips and all these crazy things where like I'm so calm and comfortable in like the most insane situations.
Yeah.
No matter what, just because starting at like 13, I just started experiencing actual chaos all the time from like stunt shows or crashing my bike all the time or whatever it was, where it was like you cannot throw a situation in any of our direction without us just being like, all right, cool, like I'm a hustler, I'm gonna work through it, around it, over it, under it, whatever it takes, but like I'm not worried.
Right.
I think that's kind of a weird like thing that I'm always grateful for BMX. It's just like comfortable no matter where I'm at. Like you can't really make me feel off balance or off guard.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
Well, and we were at that house in like the coolest time, I think. They did that article.
Dude, so good.
It was rad. Yeah.
And like you said, like that article didn't just come up, Like we pitched it to them, and we pitched it to the dudes from BMX Plus and stuff, and it was super cool. Like Ben came over to shoot that and shot every single person, like shot you doing your thing.
That's right. He had like his own little section.
Every single one of us had our own section, and it was like super cool. And there's a lot of dudes, like every dude there was kind of just...
It was like half the magazine was like about everyone living underneath the ramps at Ben's house.
Yeah. It was cool. It was a good time. Good time. And it's life. I don't know if you guys knew, like, apparently years later, but like the house legitimately burnt down.
Like, yeah.
That was so crazy. I couldn't believe I saw that online. You were like, you gotta be shitting me. This actually burnt down. Like
that's
the
like
house
the only
down.
way that house. Oh, like it's such a perfect send off,
dude.
It's probably just like combustible, soaked in sponsored tequila and all that stuff.
That's so wild.
Well, speaking of being a hustler and making moves, you've done something that I'm just beyond stoked about in the BMX community, which is everything you're doing with Volta and with Cirque. It's one of the I don't know how to describe it. It's a brand new direction for us to take BMX.
True.
Like as a community. And you really work to hustle and make that deal happen. And I'm just so proud of like everything that's come out of that. We'd love to hear just some about it and share some for the viewers.
Yeah. Well, like it's been a long journey working now for Cirque du Soleil and like the show Volta in general. It all started like probably back in 2012. One of the casting dudes approached me at one of the feasts on the deck, and he was just like, "Hey man, would you ever consider riding for Cirque du Soleil?" And I was like, or he said, "Would you ever consider doing shows for Cirque du Soleil?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. I've always been taught, like, never turn down a gig that you know nothing about, you know, like find out what's up." But either way, I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Literally, dude's talking, like, dude's awesome, and he hates the story now, but it's so funny. I'm about to take my run in the contest.
Pardon me, dude, will you take your headphones out?
Super cool, like, French dude, you know? I love the dude, like, shout out to JD for that, but, like, he stops me, full on stops me. I thought he was an organizer, and he's just like, and he just starts talking to me like I'm about to like full on take a run in like 30
That's
seconds.
my name, dude. I gotta get in the course.
So he's just like, "Hey, would you ever consider doing shows for Cirque du Soleil?" I was like, "Yeah, like that sounds cool. Yeah, I would want to." He's like, "Would you ever consider going on tour?" I thought he full on meant like a 5-day trip, 10-day trip, like something small, you know? I'm like, "Yeah, that I would do that." That's in my head what I thought. And then he was just like, "Okay, cool," you know? And he's like, "So da-da-da-da," and he's like, "Do you have what's your email or this, that, whatever?" And I'm like,
do you want me to just shout that out while I'm in my run?
I was like, is it okay if we chat like right after I do this and stuff? Because like they're calling my name. Like he was literally calling my name to go. And I'm like, he's like, "Oh yeah, go ahead, do your thing." And like, I did terrible at the contest, but like at the dirt jump contest, I don't even know if I made finals. I might have made finals, but maybe not.
Was that the year that you took that gnarly crash?
No.
Okay.
No, that was years before. That was the only time we actually had dirt. That was the only time, 2012. That's how I remember that somehow. But either way, and then just gave the dude my email. He kept in touch. Years later, he called us up. He kept in touch throughout the years, and then he's like, "Hey, there's this thing like the Pan Am opening ceremony, and we want to put BMX in it. Like, would you be interested?" So we chatted for a while, and then I was like, "Yeah, I'll give it a go. Like, I'll come." So we went to that and helped them quite a bit with the choreography of that show presentation. It was just full on a weekend thing, what I expected. And then that was actually the test to see if BMX would be a part of Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, like if it made sense and it meshed
and they liked it.
Yeah.
So they actually loved the performance of it, and they were like, "Man, like this is really good." So fast forward like 5 months or something, and then they asked us like, "Hey, would you be interested in coming down to Montreal for what they call workshops?" It's like a training thing. Again, they were like, "We have some ramps. We want to see if you guys can like put something together, see what you could put together, like a little show, a little presentation." And we were like, so I was like, talked to them quite a bit about that. I was actually like highly considering not going because it was a full week and like I was pretty busy with a lot of other stuff, and it was paid in Canadian, and it was really, really low, and it didn't financially make sense. And I was just kind of like, I don't know, you know. And actually, it was because of my wife Maria. She was just like, "Hey, like, you know, you don't have anything going on for this week. I know you're not super stoked on it and stuff, but like, you should go. You never know what can become of it," is what she told me. So I was just kind of like, "All right, cool, like." I'll go. And it almost didn't even happen because the lady that was supposed to book my flight to go never even called me the whole week. So I assumed it wasn't going to happen because that happens all the time in BMX, you know, like, "Oh, this is going to happen," and it doesn't. So then the lady doesn't call me. It's like, I had to be there Monday morning. It's probably like Friday night. And the JD dude rings me up and he's like, "Hey, you're all good to go. We'll see you here Sunday night." And I was like, no, like, the lady who said that was gonna call me Monday didn't call me, and like she hasn't called me. He's like, "What?" It's like, this is crazy. So he's frantic, freaking out, like doing everything he can, you know, doing everything he can to like get me there. He's like, "Do you still want to come?" And I was like, pretty hesitant, but then he's like, come on, like we really need you. Like we really would like you to be here. And I was just like, okay, like if you could get a flight. He got me the flight like the next morning or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I fly out there. We did that presentation thing, and we worked together the whole week, and that's where like a lot of the guys that are in the show now, pretty much all of them, is what we worked together and came up with a little presentation. They absolutely loved it, and on the spot, I had to fly out that Friday night. We did the presentation. And I literally took my bike apart, like in a hurry to leave and stuff.
Yeah, like answering questions, like
Yeah,
while
no,
you're
it's just like
taking
we were supposed
everything
to have
apart.
like this huge meeting afterwards, right? And like they were gonna tell us all this stuff, and I was like, I gotta go, like I can't do the meeting. It's because I literally had to leave for shows or something. So then the dude's like, hey, we would really like you to be a part of the company. Like, what do we need to do? How do we need to do this? And like, so I just told him like, let me just think about it, whatever. So I talked to them for like quite a long time about like how the company works and like what my work, like how you say it, like how my work day would look, like
Yeah,
insurance,
setting up
all that stuff. And
expectations,
they let me know everything. So I was actually like talked to Maria a bit about it, and then she was like, it sounds like a really cool thing, and you still get to ride your bike, and we get to travel, and like sounds pretty fun. Like I think you should do it. So then I was like, all right. So then like 4 or 5 months after that, we went to Montreal. We moved to Montreal to do the creation there, and it was like we did that for 6 months to come up. They had a huge board where they show all the acts in the storyline, because each show actually has a storyline, and like how they plan to fit in all the acts with the story and all that stuff. And then they showed us, and like, you know, I won't give away too much because I would love for everyone to see it, but it was like super cool to see how they're like involving us in all this stuff, you know? And yeah, we did that. Did an awesome creation. Everyone did a really good job. Like BMX was really, really fun, and our act was really, really solid. We and I had a lot to do with our actual act, and like doing the choreography and all that stuff. They really let us put a huge input into that. And I told the choreographer, I was like, hey, listen, man. And he really respected me because I'd worked with them before. And I told him, I said, we have one chance. We have one chance in BMX to make this right, because this is the first time that you guys, Cirque du Soleil and BMX, like freestyles, coming together. And if we look corny on that stage or look stupid or just look like goofballs, we will never be accepted by the sport. We have one chance and that's it. So then he was really cool.
It was a pretty vulnerable position because like if you blew it, not only were you going to blow future chances for BMX to branch out into stuff, but also like we were talking about at the beginning, like BMX has gotten pretty cutthroat in a lot of ways. Where like you said, if it was corny, like none of you guys were gonna get anywhere because it was like, oh, that's those dudes that did that weird circus thing and would have been like ostracized. Yeah,
so he was like, he really respected the fact that I told him that, and I was like really like adamant about that. And he was just like, all right, so I'm gonna allow you to represent BMX on your behalf, and I will show you what Cirque wants and needs. So we just met each other halfway. And like one of my favorite examples is at one point, he didn't know BMX very much, but he knew Cirque. And he's a hip hop dancer and he's a choreographer and he's an awesome dude. Very grateful for him. And he was just like, hey, do you think you could get a guy to go over the landing this or over the takeoff this way, and then a guy to go over the landing this way? And I'm like, dude, you just described a head-on collision. And he was like, no, but like maybe we could do it to where like you time it to where the guy goes under and the other guy goes over. And I was like, dude, to get that 10 out of 10 is like going to be really, really hard.
It's going to involve like 4 broken riders getting that right.
And the ramp is like, if you guys ever get to see any, like what the ramp looks like, it's like a hip, but it could be like really close like a spine. It's not a very big jump and stuff.
Yeah, I think at the closest is probably no more than this table. Like
for sure. You know, it's quite close. So it's like to be accurate for that would be so tough. But yeah, so it was super cool. They allowed us to have our input on it and like our kind of do our own thing with it. And they love it. They love it and they really like it. Like we've been on tour for 2 years now, open and stuff. So it's been a cool experience. It's pretty wild. A huge production, like so much goes into it. You got lighting technicians, you got like dudes that ran the automation on the stage, you got people like overseeing the whole thing and like literally punching numbers. Like it's so wild. We have like cooks, everything. Like it's pretty wild being a part of the company, and it's a super cool thing. And it's like it can get a bit repetitive, but it's also so much is going on that every single day of the week goes by super fast.
Yeah, it's to me like the first real example I've seen of like BMX becoming professional. Like there's lots of like there's Nitro Circus and there's a lot of like really professional stunt shows. Mm-hmm. But you guys aren't by definition a stunt show. Like you're part of something so much bigger and so much
art.
Yeah, like truly like a real professional gig, which I think is so cool that you guys took it serious. Like you said, that like this is our one chance to prove to the world that like BMX isn't gonna just be like a bunch of idiots running around on bikes. Like we can perform with the greatest of like the acts and arts and things like that. I think that's something that has opened up a lot of doors probably in the future. Like
for
we'll
other
get to
people.
Look back like we'll get to look back like 15 years from now and be like, oh, it's because Volta proved that like it was going to work.
It can work, and it did work, and it is working.
So like
it's funny. Like it's funny you say that because I think 2011 we the Yellow Designs team, we did America's Got Talent, and one of the biggest questions they asked is like, can BMX be on the stage? Can they do a performance? Yeah. And at the time we all said yes. Well, of course it can. And they were kind of like, it's questionable. But we showed it then, and we showing it every single night when we perform now, you know? So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be able to be a part of that journey and to be able to say, like, I was there for that. It was so sick, you know? Like, it's a good feeling.
Well, and I feel like you've achieved, like, the goal of, like, staying true to BMX too, and you've had, like, amazing people come out to watch. Like I know Hoffman has watched, like total like real BMXers come to,
the best
watch the
BMX
show.
Filmer in the world. Dylan Full came and watched.
Yeah, he did. He came in Tampa. I remember, man. Actually, it makes it, I always like just procrastinator. I have all these photos of all these people that have come to watch us and like mean to do. I'm just gonna do like moving forward, you guys quote me on this. I'm going to try to do like a thing where so-and-so viewer of the week or what, I don't know, but people that came to watch the show.
Audience
like,
member of the week
and like we always like try to do a backstage tour with them and get a photo. And it's pretty cool. Like you said, so many people came out and we've had like legit good feedback from the BMX community. Going from Matt Hoffman, of all people, came. He was a special guest on Cirque du Soleil's behalf. And he loved it. He was blown away by the production. He was blown away by the riding. He was blown away by the ramps, by the way we did what we do. And he was just like, you're doing it right. He was like 100% honest. He was like, you guys are doing it right. And we're just like, damn, like, that's huge coming from you. It
doesn't really get any bigger.
Right. And you're just like, we tried so damn hard. And we had multiple meetings where you just sit around with like 15 people that have no idea what you're doing or how important it is from like me sitting.
The ramp transition has to be this. Yeah. There's no ifs, ands, or buts having to fight for it. And then
we need the wall ride to be like as steady and not bouncy as possible. Yeah. Like me sitting with the person designing the costumes, and this letting it know that we can't have a bunch of stuff hanging off because it'll get stuck, and like to the point where they just look at me like, dude, you're so hard to work with. But I'm like, dude, I have physically broken bones. Like,
I don't ride in a hoodie anymore.
Shirt, like stuff like that. So like, so it's pretty cool that they met us halfway, and that's what I really appreciate about the company is that they look out. Not only do they look out for us, they meet us halfway, and they're like, what do you need to do what you do? And we're just like, sometimes I'm like, I need these shoes. They're kind of expensive, but they'll last me a long time. Like, if that's what you need, that's what we'll get. And it's cool. And like we ride in everything comfortable. Like they make our bikes are all custom bikes and stuff like that. And like we have multiple of them in case something happens throughout the act. We just run back and grab another one. It's like it's pretty crazy to say we work super, super hard to make it good, but yet I'm very proud to say I work for this company that backs me up as much as I back them up, because that's always something I wanted in my life. It's just kind of like, I want to work for someone that works as hard as I do for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
It sounds like Cirque just does that in general for all their acts.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really blown away the more that you've told us about the company over the past couple of years. Is like, it doesn't matter if you are like a cook or if you are some performer. Like, they literally are just like, what do you need to do what you do the best you can?
Yeah.
And then they just support you, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's cool. We were like, is there any way we could get like a resi? And they're like, oh, what's a resi? And then you have to
Explain
to them what a resi is and the benefits of a resi. So you have to try to talk like production talk. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, what it is, it's actually a plastic mat that we would put over the other mats, and it's like a softer landing. You're able to try new tricks, or not only new tricks, maybe some tricks that you don't want to do on the ramp because it's a little more hazardous for you to do and you could possibly get hurt. But on this thing, you could roll away, you could fall, but you'll be safe. And the way it's going to benefit us is the fact that we'll be able to save on injuries and able to develop the act to a higher level. And they're kind of like, and we're a lot safer doing it on this thing if we buy it. So they're kind of like, okay, let's look into it. We got a resi.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to learn how to talk, how production talks.
Yeah,
and
just professional.
Like and
genuinely
it's different. It's different because we all know at a BMX setting, at a show, you're kind of like, yo, this ramp is really sketchy, yo. Like, and the dude's kind of like, yeah, we'll get around to it, or like stuff like that, or anywhere else, like you go to a contest and you're like, hey man, this wind is really, really serious. Like, example, I was at Feast and, like I remember it being like, I think like 30-mile-an-hour winds or something. And then we're there for like, I think semifinals, and it was super windy before my run, like the whole morning. And then I was like, I asked the judges, I literally started on the judges table and I said, hey, do I have to drop in right now? Can I be put at the end of the group, hoping that like the wind would mellow out? And they were like, no, like you have to go now. And I was like, well, what happens if I don't go now? They're like, well, then you'll be disqualified and you can't make it to the next round. And I remember specifically being like, damn, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I rolled in, pedaled across the course and went off like a 10-foot quarter, transferred over about 12 feet to a lip and double whipped across it, which is something I'm very capable of doing all the time. The wind blew me in the direction into the ramp, cased quite hard without knowing, didn't know, went all the way down to the flat bottom, broke my ribs. Like it was
vicious
It was
crash.
gnarly.
Yeah,
and
you were
after
out.
that, I was just like, and they just literally dragged me off the course, like, and I went to the hospital on my own behalf, and they were just like, all right, next rider.
Yeah, and
I was
like
damn.
You can't fault them too much for it because like it's just a totally different beast. It's a contest. They have to get things through. But yeah, that had to have been a weird growing pains of going from that style. Like that's how I got broke off at the Toyota doubles or whatever, triples.
Right.
It was impossible to get speed. Like everyone was pumping as hard as they could, and like by no means is it their fault. Like everyone was getting through it, and I was progressing, but still like massive jumps, and like you really had to juice every little bit of speed you could out of the roller, out of the bottom of the roller, out of the lip, like just to get through it.
Yeah.
And then of course like blow up and get all broke off. But it's so funny going from being used to sketchiness to going to such a professional setting where it really is like, we want this to be good. So whatever it takes for this to be the best it can be. And like that I'm sure had to have been like weird being like, yeah, I need this for it to be good. And they're like, okay. And then just like, oh, no one's actually agreed to fixing the ramp before. I don't know what to do. Like, that's pretty awesome.
That's cool. It's different. It's I'm very grateful to be a part of it and to be able to say I'm one of the first guys to do it and have a say in it. and to represent the company is always really cool, obviously. But yeah, man, there's like a lot of really cool moves that they're always like working on and like always trying to like help us like progress to act and stuff.
Heck yeah.
So I'm interested in like some other ways that it might be different from contest days, because you were pretty serious in contests for at least 5 years or so, something like that, where you're like traveling and like trying to make a go of it.
Just getting it, yeah. That's what I say.
Then,
Ride around and getting it.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Me and Victor say it all the time. But yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, just how it compares now. It's kind of more like it is a job essentially.
Yes.
Very much so, versus just the freedom of like ride at the skate park or ride at Ben's house and train for contests. How do you feel
about that?
Yeah.
I would say to be quite honest, like I love every aspect of riding my bike, no matter what it is. Whether I'm sessioning with the friends and it's really mellow and we're just chatting 90% of the time and not riding, or like going to a contest and training for a contest and trying to make a living from it, and only having it as a living to the point where like if I don't make finals, I'm not paying my rent.
Yeah.
You know, that was a few times that happened. And with all the pressure of contests, showing up to an event and the course doesn't favor you, or the flat bottom is so soft that it takes twice the energy to ride the course, but no one knows that. And you're just like, man, like my run is like so exhausting, and stuff like that is like so different, you know, compared to showing up to an event. Oh, I'll try to start over. It's so bad. All right, well, let me see. So it's very different riding in the shows and then doing contests, but it's also like real similar because you're still like doing some fun tricks, doing some big tricks. But when I was doing contests, it was a lot of pressure to make sure that I did good. I remember going to so many events and being like, man, if I don't make finals today, like, or if I don't make top 5 because there's not a big purse in this contest, like I'm not paying my rent. Yeah. Like there's a chance, like I'm not going to eat till I go to the next event, or money comes in somehow, you know? So that was like a lot of pressure, but it was still a lot of fun. Like you were just like, man, this is literally survival. Like if I don't make finals, I'm not eating next week. I'm not, you know what I mean? So you're just like, you're in it, and you're just like, that's why you see these dudes are so motivated. It's not because they're like trying to make their sponsor happy 100% of the time or this or that. Like they're eating because they're out there surviving, and you can see it in their eyes. And you can see some of the dudes that are living more comfortably that don't necessarily care. And those are the dudes that used to drive me nuts, you know, but whatever, to each is their own. But with that said, I enjoyed that life and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I loved going to contests. I was always more of a crowd person. I love bringing the crowd to the event and being a part of my run and what I was doing. That's who motivated me the most to have fun and to kill it, was bringing the crowd up, just hearing them roar and just like they're in the zone. I'm like, all right, nothing else in this world matters. I've already worked my ass off doing all the tricks that I'm going to do today at home training for this or wherever I've been. So whatever I'm going to do today, I already have. I get to show what I've been working on, not what I can possibly do, you know? So that's the way I looked at it. It's my chance to show what I've been working my ass off to do at home. So let's get it done. And it was so fun.
I think that's a really cool attitude, that like there's a small shift there that I see between that and a lot of other riders. Is like you were already proud. It had nothing to do with how the run turned out. Like obviously there's always the pride of like taking a W and like winning and doing well, but like you were already proud. Like you already knew how hard you'd worked to train and get everything ready and dialed and like learn tricks and progress. You were more excited to share that with everyone. So like even if you didn't place and didn't get to eat that week, it was like you didn't go home feeling bad about yourself. You were like, no, I went and I showed off what I was doing. Like if the course didn't favor you or something like that, like you could still see some bright side to it. Like you could still find joy in it versus like the dudes were like, if if you're not first, you're last.
Yeah.
And then, like, you could go do the coolest stuff, and if for whatever reason you don't come out with a podium, like, just beat yourself up for weeks over a bad contest versus
true.
where you're like, no, I'm already pumped. Like, I showed up, the crowd's behind it. I know I worked really hard. I'm proud, and I'd like to take home the W, but, like, that didn't affect whether or not you found joy in the contest life.
True. Yeah, no, for sure. Like, and maybe that's also many years later, I realized that's why I wasn't a top 3 rider. That's why I wasn't winning contests or stuff like that. It's because I was just so stoked to be there and so proud and accomplished to be a part of the crew and to go to the event. If I was a little more hungry in the winning aspects, I was very grateful for where I was in life because I knew where I came from. I had already beat the odds a long time ago. So it was just enjoying what I was doing. And yeah, I wanted to do all those tricks and those lines and those transfers for myself, not to be a world's first, not to impress anyone, not to try to get a bump up on a sponsorship. I did that for myself. And I'm very happy I lived that way because I've seen a lot of dudes that are quite salty on BMX and I'm not. And I'm actually like stoked on it. And with that said, going forward, like you asked what's it like to do the shows and stuff like that. Like it's super fun. None of the stress is there. And it's just, we get to do what we do. What's cool about the company is they don't force us to do any tricks. A lot of people actually ask me this one question: do you have to do the tricks you do? Because I've seen footage and it's gnarly. No, not at all. Actually, not at all. The only thing we're asked to do is to stay in the choreography. So that what that means, if you're in the train and if you're the third one to go in the train, you go third. You could do whatever trick you want, you know? You could do whatever you want as long as you don't affect whoever's in front of you or behind you and stuff like that. As long as you don't mess with the timing. As long as you
keep the rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all they want. And it's awesome. The dudes, every one of us in the show, do the tricks that we do for self-gratitude, which our act is so fun and so strong because every single dude in there riding is riding with pride and is riding with heart and dedication to what we still do. It's still BMX to us, and we don't have to do anything. We don't have to flare, like the guys are like flaring the lip to flaring the quarter to flaring this, like going back and forth, and we don't have to do any of that. But they're doing it for fun. Like, yo, did you see that? I just did that. I just went flare. And it's like, and then afterwards we watch over the footage because it's recorded and stuff, and it's pretty cool. Like, yo, check this out. I almost died right here. Yo, check this out. This was so sketchy. Or, yo, check this out. This was so sick, you know? And like, we still love it every single day. And it makes it super easy. It's the best part of my day is when I get to ride my bike.
Yeah.
And the fact that I get to get paid for it is a bonus, you know? And it's a pretty cool thing. And I'm smart enough to know that that's going to end. That's going to end at one point. And I'm smart enough to know to capitalize in it on trying to save up money and to enjoy the shit out of it while it's still there. Because every good thing eventually ends. It's how long you can ride that ride for and live it up as much as you can.
Totally. And I feel like you're doing it the best way possible. Like of anybody that, like, you hear stories of guys that retire and, you know, can't get jobs because they don't have no experience and all of this. And then, like, for you to be able to transition into this kind of work where you still love it is the coolest part after even 2 years or so.
Yeah, 2.5 years now. 2.5 years because we started touring 2 years ago.
And I feel like a big part of that is the fact that you do get the freedom to, like, choose which tricks, and like I guarantee it wouldn't last even like a month if you guys were set to like a specific trick on this particular hit. Like, I think that's how you've been able to trick yourselves into. It's just a session.
It is.
Right, like it's basically a session with an audience, which is really, like, most BMX riders by nature are a little bit of a show pony to some degree. So, like, nothing makes me happier than, like, if a little kid, even if it's like one little kid at the skate park is like, oh, that's cool, you're good. Like, I'll pretend it doesn't get to me, but deep down, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, someone's getting excited about something I'm doing. It doesn't matter if it's riding anymore, but like, that's just the easiest way. And I think that that's so cool that they gave you the freedom to do that. And like, I think that that's a big part of the joy quota, part of it. Like, how you guys are able to still fill your joy quota, even though it is, like you said, kind of repetitive, and if you chose to see it that way, mundane almost. Of like, yeah, dude, we're going to hit the same ramps in the same order as always. But instead it's like, nah, man, like, I felt like doing flare to flare to flare to flare to flare. Or like, dude, I just did 6 different kinds of no-handers in that last show. Or like, I think that that's the secret sauce. Even if your job isn't performing full-time and doing something as cool as being in Cirque du Soleil, like, just the little tiny pieces of variety that you can spice into any kind of routine is going to make you enjoy whatever it is that you do a whole lot more.
For sure.
Whether it's like taking a new way home from work or like sitting in a different seat, like whatever you can do to switch up your 9 to 5 or like whatever it is that has the opportunity to be mundane. Man, that's so key to being able to find joy in whatever it is you're doing.
Nice. Yeah, for sure, man. I agree with that.
Do you ever miss sending it, or do you ever still sometimes just?
Oh, no, I send it to that. But with that said, I have to stay healthy because it's my job. Yeah. But we have the resi. We have resi sessions, and it gets down. We do way bigger tricks during the resi sessions than we do in the show, because we have to stay consistent. And like the goal is, I've had a few injuries, it happens, but the goal is to do the tricks I'm doing on the resi, which I used to be able to do every single day during contests and stuff like that. But the thing of it is, I'm trying to get back to doing all those tricks in the show. So I'll try to start that.
Well, and there's a lot of pressure there too, because it has to be wives. There's a lot of pressure to be consistent. Like you said, it has to be 10 out of 10.
Right.
Like if you mess up the flow, then they'd much rather you do a less impressive trick and just land it. Right. Than like huck yourself. Yeah, there's no
really hucking involved. You have to be pretty consistent on what you're gonna do. You have to know like 10 for 10 that you're gonna pull it. If you slip a pedal or something, that's fine. But where you don't put yourself or anyone else in danger is pretty important. But yeah, like you were asking me, like if I miss sending it, like yeah, I do miss sending it, like gnarly stuff, but we still do send it. Like when we have the resi sessions and stuff, we get down. Like that's when you see more of the bigger tricks that we're not necessarily doing in the show. The goal is to work on them to do in the show, and that's what we're working up to. But dude, I would love to 450 supersede that hip. Or like I've done it in resi a ton of times, and I'm working on it, even like front flip no-handers. I've even been messing around with a bunch of flip variations, even though I don't backflip variations very much. I know, right? Yeah. So it's been cool, man. Like, and that's kind of some of the stuff that I post on Instagram is when I play on the resi, because social media is all about like, let me see your biggest thing, whatever. But I'm kind of like enjoy it and like working my way up to bringing that stuff back into my everyday life. Like due to the injuries and stuff, I've slowed down a little bit and been like more consistent on other stuff, but I want to get back in the game and just like come in hot, So that's the ultimatum right there. Like just staying safe and still getting down with it.
Yeah. All right. So one other thing I wanted why I brought up sending it is, your 2 gnarliest clips to me from like way back in the day are the fronty out of the bowl at Denver, and then the Superman at Zunai.
Dude.
Yeah.
Zunai is the most unbelievable thing. I watched this clip, so I met you when I was 13 or whatever.
Right.
I just found out what BMX was. That day I get a BMX video, and you guys had just made it, and I plug it into the DVD player, and in that is that Superman, and it's been 12, 13 years, and I just randomly go to that skate park for the first time. And I'm riding for like an hour before I called Dylan and interrupt whatever he was doing. I'm like, dude, I think I'm at where AJ did that Superman.
That was so crazy.
What?
I don't know what I was thinking, for the
possibly
record.
thinking?
Exactly.
This
I thought it was doable.
I looked at it from every angle, and I was like, I don't even think if you gave me money, I would come close.
Those were the days where you're just like, what's the biggest gap? What's my biggest trick? I'm going to link them together, and I'm going for it. It was possible. I somewhat did it, but it wasn't beautiful. And, but, like, I would never do that again. You couldn't pay me the most money amount. I can't. Front flipping, I go back to Denver. I go back to Denver Park, and I'm like, how in the hell? Because I do the trick differently than I did it back then. Yeah. I used to push through as much as I could. I used to need the biggest transfer I could ever find to be able to front flip. And that was when that's just how I did it then. But now, if I just go way too high and pop way too much, that I would legitimately probably land on the ledge.
Snap your frame in half.
Snap my body in half as well. But yeah, that was good. That was crazy. That's so crazy. It's so crazy that you tell me, like, yeah, AJ front flipped from there to there. You're like, no way. There's no way.
Totally. Looking at it, you'd never.
I feel like all of us probably, like, every now and again I'll be writing something and a memory like that will come up where I'm just like, I can't believe I did that. Like, what was I possibly thinking? That's insane.
You were just
nothing to that degree, but
just hungry.
Invincible.
Yeah, invincible. Yeah. It's amazing.
I mean, you died on that Superman somehow.
Oh, I did. I did.
I don't know how you.
I did that, got back up, and did it again because I knew my feet were hurting, and landed it.
I mean, this was like 30 feet
it's
long.
So
you're probably 20 feet up.
Yeah, it's like a waterfall takeoff.
Yeah,
and like I missed. Jumped the pop, whatever, and just sent me way over, landed flat. I couldn't walk for 3 weeks after that.
I was going to say.
But nothing broke.
But
somehow.
you pulled it. You pulled it after.
Yeah.
You got him
and then
Every BMX rider knows if you crash, you have like a 10-minute window.
That's true.
Where the muscles are still warm. I've ridden with like broken bones where I'm like, I have to, if I don't land this now, I'm never coming back to the skate park. It's just going to haunt me. And you just get it over with. I know I'm going to hurt. That's so rad that you pushed through and you still managed to make it happen.
That was then.
yeah, we've all mellowed out pretty considerably. Well, I know that you got to get going. We always end with asking the same question. When you think of joy, what comes to mind? Like, it doesn't have to be a good piece of story. This is just for you. When you think of joy, what comes to mind?
A lot of things, to be quite honest. Like, good friendships with, like, you guys, family, seeing my niece and nephews, riding my bike, being able to go as fast as I possibly can and feel the wind and the air under me blasting a hip or something. Like, true joy is in a lot of things that you can find. True joy is having $5 more in your account than you actually thought you had, like surfing brings a lot of joy to me. Thinking about surfing, talking about surfing, that's something else that I like later in life found, and we got to enjoy that together. There's so many things in this world, spending time with my wife and going on a road trip and just hanging out together. Man, so many things in life that are joyful that we come to oversee by just getting overwhelmed or wrapped up with what everybody else is doing or what society expects you to have joy of. But it's the small things. It's the small things in life that make me super stoked. Like the fact that you guys ring me up to try to come in and fit the interview in last minute and to be able to just talk, and like there's a lot of cool things in life that bring a lot of joy to me, and I just try to keep that candle lit, I guess you would say. And I think like that's what keeps me going and keeps me young and full of life. And I think that's a cool thing to try to do, is just look at the little stuff, and it'll definitely keep you going.
Or as AJ would say, it'll buff out.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite thing, man. Yeah. It'll buff out. And if it's a little sketchy, it'll buff out.
It'll buff out.
Yeah.
Just riding around getting it.
Yeah. Man, thank you guys for inviting me. It's been super fun, and hopefully we could do some more. Like,
I feel like we could go on for
Oh, for
hours
sure.
and hours and
Yeah.
hours.
We
So,
do it
yeah,
every
next
time we get
you're-
together.
Yeah, next time you're in, we'll come back and we'll do part 2.
We will. It'll be good. You guys will be popping.
Yeah, dude.
It'll be so good.
I'll be
Hell
riding
yeah,
again.
boys. So many stories.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, AJ. You, as always, are just like, it's so good to have you in town, and can't wait till next time.
For sure. I look forward to it, boys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.